I would say that it is important to have women in power for basically two reasons. First, because when we are in power, we have the possibility of changing the way the power is delivered, the way that politics works. We bring into politics, we bring into powers some women conditions, some women attributes that has to do with, for example, more dialogue, a more collaborative way of doing things. We can also bring, I'm sure about that, more integrity into politics, more better perception and more concern about social issues also. So I'm really sure that that politics experience is a very important change once that women has the possibility to be there. And the second thing is that we can really impact on others women, on other women's conditions, because also we bring into the public policy agenda many issues that are of concern for women. Issues that has to do with equal pay in the marketplace. Issues that has to do with having more effective instruments to combat violence against women. Issues such as affirmative action, so more women can get into politics. So I would say that those are the most important reasons why it is quite critical to have women in power. The challenges women have in politics are many. I compare the participation of women in politics with, being in a kind of obstacle course where you are competing with your partners, but suddenly you realize that your track is wet and the obstacles that you have to overcome are even higher than the obstacles men have to overcome. And I don't want to mean that we are looking for different conditions in our favor. We know that we have to compete very hard because politics is something very competitive. But what I want to mean is that many times, and probably that is the role, at least it was for me, and for other women I know, when you compete in politics, you have to face more difficult challenges and bigger obstacles than men have to face. And I will mention two obstacles which probably are the more critical one. One has to do with the access to financial resources. Since the corporate sector is in the hands of men, it is very hard for women to get access to that world. The way they behave, the way they communicate with men in politics, and the difference we make when we try to ask for the support. It's just different, and so it is not very easy. They usually don't feel very comfortable discussing with a women about how that kind of political business is going to be run. And so that is why I think that in order to overcome those problems, we should also move the agenda for more women participating in the corporate sector at the highest possible level. And the second kind of obstacle has to do with perceptions. And those ideas that power has to do with men attributes, to be strong, to be, to the audacity, the stamina, and people think that we women are not strong, that we are we are weak, we are soft in a certain way, and that our attributes has to do with, again, weaknesses, fragility, constantly changing the ideas, and that is not true. That is just, stereotypes. And so you have to overcome those perceptions, and remember that politics is basically about perceptions. And so that is why it is very hard for women to try to tell their people that we have also the attributes to be empowered. I would say that changing experiences is very important, because once that you have been there, you learned many lessons, and you can share those lessons with other women that are just starting to move ahead. So sharing experiences and bringing information about what are the challenges you are going to face is very important. And secondly, try to organize among ourselves, trying to be supportive, trying to speak in favor of other women that are competing in politics. I think this solidarity among us is very important. Gender equality has nothing to do with feeling that we women are better than men, or that men are less able to perform certain kind of activities. We are not pretending. It has nothing to do with pretending to displace the role that men have played in many different areas. Gender equality has to do with the opportunity we demand to be there at the same time they are there. I mean, just to complement what they are doing, because we are very complementary. We are just different. We can bring different perspective to everything in social areas. And so what gender equality means is just to have the opportunity to have access to many different activities, to be treated as equals. I would say that is basically what we need. Sometimes we women do not move ahead just because we think that we are not going to be able to achieve that goal. So we put ourselves some kind of barriers that do not allow us to move forward. You have to know that you have the same conditions to compete for any kind of goal as the men have. And the second advice is to never put their guard down. You have always to be aware, because probably you know that you have the conditions to compete, but you have to convince others that you have them. And so never stop fighting, and never put the guard down.